WSC News is next, brought to you by Glass Pro.
I was trying to bring this awareness of this
satisfaction is our number one priority.
black on black.
Call Glass Pro first. It's your choice. This is on Glass Pro. Glass Pro.
Black on black racism.
The latest from the 94.3 WSC News Center.
Good morning, I'm Tiffany Griffith. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is expected to testify before the House panel looking into Benghazi attack. Her lawyer says that she'll testify one time, however, and not appear twice as requested by the panel's chairman. Chairman Trey Gowdy wants Clinton to answer questions about the attack that killed 4 Americans in 2012 and her use of a private email server during her tenure as Secretary of State. So far, there's no word on when Clinton will testify.
The president says there is no dispute. Minorities are treated differently in many communities.
Communities have consistently had the odds stacked against them. That there's a tragic history in this country that has made it tougher for some.
Speaking in New York City, the president talked about the opportunity gap that exists for boys and young men of color.
WSC's Angela Anderson reporting. State lawmakers are using visual aids to stay focused on their budget objectives.
Debate on the nearly $7 billion budget began yesterday on the Senate floor. It includes money for police body cameras, higher funding for K-12 education, but not a pay raise for state workers. At the request of Senator Darrell Jackson, South Carolinians sent in photos of road damage. The images are being used to stress the immediate need for funding repairs. The state's crumbling road system is apparently costing an individual South Carolina driver as much as $1,300 every year.
WSC's Matt Cook reporting. South Carolina owes the federal government lots of money for breaking the rules. Through Medicaid, the state has been able to cover the medical costs of patients with intellectual disabilities. However, the federal waiver does not cover housing. Now South Carolina owes the feds $1.6 million for charging Medicaid for the patient's room and board. State officials have agreed to pay it back. The Department of Disabilities and Special Needs tells the state newspaper this mistake was an accounting error and they realize patients need to be charged. Read more of these and the other top stories of the day at 943WSC.com.
This update brought to you by Q104.5.
That's what the Low Country's classic rock sounds like. When you need the latest traffic updates, turn to 94.3 WSC. You're listening to Mornings with Kelly Golden on the Low Country's news station, 94.3 WSC.
Robert hanging on the line, listening to Mornings with Kelly Golden, saying, Robert, you said Baltimore is everywhere.
It's a problem within the black community. It's not Caucasians, it's not police officers, it's these families with deficient children and deficient nurturing. There's a time to slap a child. That's not the way to completely.
Well, we talked about the decimated black family for quite some time and how Martin Luther King wanted the complete opposite, and yet I don't see a black community coming around and embracing what you're trying to say here, Robert.
Well, you know something, like I said, I can only do what I can do, and I can only lead in the direction. But I tell these young men, stop impregnating these girls and get on with your life. Stop being sexually lascivious. They don't have anybody to tell them that. They don't have someone to say, being a man doesn't necessarily mean having like 15 conquests. That doesn't make you a man. Having 20 children that you can't support that are all going to grow up and start dating each other. People want to know what's wrong in the black community. There's one guy going around, or 4 or 5 or 10 guys going around impregnating the entire community, and we're getting a group of inbred children in the black community. Who talks about that?
Well, apparently you do, Robert. I'm certainly not going to lay claim to those, to that way of thinking. But not enough people, standing up and telling kids what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. I would agree with that. Robert, I appreciate you listening to Mornings with Kelly Golden. Coming up, has ISIS made its way into America? Well, look at Garland, Texas.